Good morning here on a Monday morning. Welcome to the First Spiritualist Church of Alabama. We use the name church and just identify it as a religion, even though we're not very fond of either one of those terms. It's a path, it's a life path, and in our common use of such terms, which we do not like to be associated with, it can be and is identified legally as a church and is referred to it as a religion because of everything that it covers. Many people fail to realize that spiritualism is a religion in that essence. Because spiritualism has so many approaches, a truly scientific man who's not interested in religion can approach the phenomena of modern spiritualism purely from a scientific viewpoint. He is interested only in the fact that he's approaching something that he does not understand and wants to know something about it. He's interested in this one thing to find out, if possible, if these phenomena are caused by a force not yet understood in nature or if they are produced by disembodied entities through the instrumentality of what is commonly known as mediumship. A greater number of these scientists who have approached spiritualism from a scientific viewpoint have been convinced of its authenticity. We mean by this statement that they are convinced that spiritualism has a true foundation upon which one may stand and that the phenomena are true, as expressed by one of the greatest scientists when he stated that the fact of communication as demonstrated by spiritualism was as definitely proved as any other fact in nature or in science. Then there are those who approach spiritualism wholly from the standpoint of curiosity. They hear in the presence of mediums certain phenomena take place, and they approach this subject solely with attitude of I'm here, now show me. They make no conditions of their own which make it possible for them to be shown, not realizing that the spirit would be world is under no obligation whatsoever to approach the children of earth, unless the children of earth express the sincere desire to contact that world. And that does not have to be a outward expression. There can be just a desire that's even none expressed, if you will. That's my case. There are those too who approach it because they feel they may be directed by the prophecies of mediums, although they are not especially interested by what means the prophecies are made. There's also a group of people who are interested only in the possibility of receiving a message from a departed loved one on the other side. These people remain in the Orthodox churches. They're willing to take all a psychic or medium can give them, but they fear perhaps that a scientific religion or philosophy which they're investigating is not popular enough to be regarded as something which they can publicly hold and about which they can publicly express an opinion. These groups get very little out of spiritualism. The typical investigator and the curious seeker too get very little. They are satisfied to go to mediocre mediums for their demonstrations. So many of these investigators dwell on the material plane of activity. They're satisfied with more things like simple, simplistic parts of the practice, if you will. The curious are pleased if they get a message telling them that they shall not marry, or what house they shall or shall not live in, or what property they shall sell, or what property they'll keep. These people carry on their investigation purely on a plane of mediocrity. They are completely disinterested in learning of the philosophy and religion of modern spiritualism. It must be remembered that it has not been the medium who has kept spiritualism in a mediocre state, but people who have held the medium down to a state of hello, John, and hello, Mary, and what house shall I buy? Mark you, there are some people in the world who are seeking the higher things and whose hearts ache because they see these mediocre things being demonstrated as spiritual philosophy. They are sorry indeed that this mediocrity is associated with the movement of spiritualism, card reading, crystal gazing, and palmistry. All these things pass so often under the name of spiritualism. These things we as a movement have had to carry as excess baggage. We have no way of copyrighting the name of spiritualism, so we are faced with these conditions. The true investigator, the man and the woman who are truly seeking something higher, something to help them along the pathway of life, are the only persons who are going to receive the greatest joy, the greatest good, and the greatest solace in their investigations of these scientific facts. Do you realize that you have access to the spiritual world, that you may become communicators with the highest forces in the world? In that world, do you realize that they may reach out into yonder sphere and listen to the voices of those archangels and saints, ones who have lived as you have lived from time immemorial, but who have now risen to that state in which they occupy the high places as invisible teachers of the human race? Do you realize that you may at any moment, through self-culture, through the adjustment of your individual ideas, hopes, and longings, so attune this physical temple of yours that you may, hour by hour, walk hand in hand with those angelic friends? Remember that there is no one movement which has sole access to that spiritual world. Masters are universal and come to whoever wills, and whosoever knocks on the door may have it opened unto him. The masters are only waiting until the student has made the approach, and when the student has reached them, they, the masters of light, appear to guide the faltering footsteps of the pathway of life. Know that if you vibrate in mind upon the plane of consciousness in which the masters are functioning, they will manifest unto you, and they are not going to be with you if you come down to a mediocre manifestation, a phenomenal investigation, because there is nothing there to attract them. There is nothing for them to give you, and there is nothing for you to get under those conditions. The human mind, objectively, is a particular machine, and we live and function on a peculiar plane and physical activity. Fear has been the predominant factor that has ruled the human race for thousands of years, and still does. Even our religious systems have inculcated fear into the hearts and minds of the human family. As a result, we have been surrounding ourselves with fear and have thus attained a fear complex. But there is a remedy for this condition, and it is this: when the individual, in spite of all those suggestions which have been given to him, have become a part of his life, is able to assert his own individuality, and the real I begins to function, he then stands at the crossroads and begins to analyze, segregate, and classify all that which rises from objective fear and that which comes to him from his advanced spiritual consciousness. Spiritualism teaches man responsibility, personal responsibility, unlike Christianity that wants you to throw that responsibility off on a human sacrifice. It teaches that one makes one's happiness or unhappiness as one obeys the laws of nature, which are indeed the laws of God or its infinite intelligence. There is no argument there, no matter what one believes may be, because we know full well that if we disobey, we suffer and we pay. All the time, however, that we are attempting to construct, we are tearing down this body of ours, which we hold ill will, envy, and other destructive attitudes. We bring about conditions ourselves. This law applies to every walk of life. It applies to everything that we do. Spiritualism is the religion of self-culture, the religion of self-building, the religion of self-attainment, the religion of self-mastery. Through constructive thinking, we attune our minds and bodies to higher vibrations. Thus, we find the kingdom of heaven and its peace where all things, because all of our at one mint with this infinite intelligence, who is referred to, or what is referred to as God the Father, must be known unto us at the right time. When we have risen to that state in which we not only command but stand in a position ready to receive commands, we become the knower because we have found the sum total of all there is, our true relationship with God the Father, infinite mind. Thus, in God's holy union of peace and joy, we are conscious that we have risen, that we have been cleansed, and we cry out to the world as we advance, I see only divine within me and all of creation. It's made clear even in the story of Jesus. If a person were to read the story of Jesus in that book we refer to as the Bible, and they would read it and set aside the dogma, the creeds, the doctrine that's been inculcated into them since birth, really, by the culture of religion and church, and note clearly that this life of Jesus was that of a human, was that of a man who attained his knowledge while on earth. It wasn't given to him. He had to seek it out. He took responsibility for his actions, not yours. He was a teacher. He did not form a religion. He did not seek followers. He said that if you believe I've done these things, you will do greater. That's not the words of a God. That's the words of a man saying, I did these things, you can do even more. He had opened the door for future generations, a door of spiritualism, a door of spirituality, which sought proof, not just faith, not just belief. When doubting Thomas doubted Jesus coming back from the dead, Jesus provided proof. He showed his hands. He showed physical proof. It was not just a matter of faith, and it was not just a matter of saying, oh, it's true, you've got to believe, as the church does today. Each step of Jesus' path was to educate, to open the minds. It was a life of forgiveness, of acceptance. It wasn't a life of condemnation. The only ones that Jesus ever condemned were those who were misleading people in the name of religion, in the name of church, in the name of God. Our website is www. Right here, fscofal.org. You can learn more about us there. Thank you very much for having joined us. We today at 7 a.m. on a Monday morning here in the Central Time Zone. Those of us listening to this, and myself included, we have lived another day. We don't know where we'll be 24 hours from now. We know where we think we'll be, but until we get there, it's a reliance on faith. We do everything we can to prolong and to make sure we're here in 24 hours. We have faith, but we don't have proof until we make that journey. We look for proof. We look for a way to ensure that we reach our destination. It doesn't happen by carelessly saying, I've got faith, and not wearing the seatbelt and not paying attention to the traffic laws. That's not what we do to ensure. We act accordingly. It's not just a matter of belief and of faith. We want a knowing. We want to ensure the best we can the outcome. And this is a huge difference of what we promote. It's not just an Elvisizing of a Jesus that the church does. It's science. It's a knowing, research, investigation. And we move forward with the knowledge that we've gained. Thank you all. Have a good day.